Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. This is English Custom Woodworking. Today I'm working on a project, but to do this project I need another set of sawhorses. Even though I've got 4 sets of sawhorses around the property, I need another set. I need 5. So thought I'd make a video showing you guys how to make some quick set of sawhorses out of scrap. I don't want to buy some material. Don't want to spend any money, but I've got tons of scrap laying around, so let's make some sawhorses out of scrap. I've got a piece of scrap. This was an old step. It's made out of redwood. It was an old step on a porch. I'm going to peel it apart, break it apart. This is what I'm going to be using for my top. I've got a piece of door frame. Just recently tore out a door on my workshop. Obviously, here's the door, but some of the frame, I'm going to cut it up and use it for some stuff. And I've got some scrap 2x4s. They're actually treated. I'm renovating a porch, and I got a bunch of scrap off it. So these are treated. Do you have to use treated? No. These legs on this sawhorse I've had for years, probably at least 6-7 years. They are not treated. Where it touches the ground, obviously they get a little soft over time if you're leaving them outside, but they've held up just fine. These are treated. They should hold up longer. This is actually pretty good material to build a sawhorse out of. This is old floor joists out of a house. We were building a house, had some scrap cut off, so it actually works pretty good as kind of like a platform to build a sawhorse out of, particularly because you can create a pretty strong junction here, and you can put your legs just underneath that lip, which creates a strong platform pushing down, downward strength. So I'll show you another set of sawhorses here in just a second that I particularly do not like. Do they work? Yes, but they're not very functional in my opinion. So here's a set of sawhorses. Using these store-bought frames or metal pieces. Do they work? Once again, yes, but they are about the most wobbly sawhorses known to mankind. And I actually even put some screws up here to try to beef them up, but they're still extremely wobbly, and don't really trust them very well. Could I do something to those wobbly sawhorses to strengthen them up and make them stronger? Yes, but I'm trying to make some stuff out of scrap right now. So let's take some measurements and make some cuts. So I have to re-record this part of the clip. For some reason my camera went on the fritz. But let's talk about sawhorse height. So you're going to want to make these sawhorses the height that is custom for you. We're all different heights. I'm 6 foot. This table right here is a good height for me. I like the height of this. I can reach down and touch the table with the tip of my fingers without having to bend over, without having to stretch my arms. So if I was working on this, I'd have to bend over just a little bit, but not that bad if your object or whatever you're doing is on top. So the height of this table is right around 30 inches. These sawhorses right here, a little bit higher. If you're wanting to work on a project that is more up in your face, you don't have to bend over quite as far. These are 33 inches from the ground up to the top. So tailor make your sawhorses to the height that is good for you. If you're shorter, make them shorter. If you're taller, make them taller. That's basically what I'm trying to get across here. I personally like this height here. If you're cutting, sawing, screwing, whatever, this is a good height for me. Okay, so what measurements do we need to figure out? So if you look at, I think you can see it in the picture, this set of sawhorses, nope, I don't know if you can see in the picture. No. Yeah, you can. All right, so this set of sawhorses right here is roughly 25-degree pitch on those legs. So my saw, or my miter saw, locks in at a 22.5. So I'm just going to use a 22.5 degree pitch on my legs and on my feet. If you're going to be using these sawhorses on a concrete surface or a hard surface, or like in your house or something like that, then you probably need to be pretty precise with the angles that you're cutting for the feet. But I'm going to be primarily using these outside in the yard. So you're sitting on the earth is not level, plus it will conform a little bit to your feet, so the feet on the sawhorses. So I'm not terribly worried about getting the angle exactly right. So we're going to use 22.5 because that's easiest to set on my miter saw. So I cut a little piece of scrap with a 22.5 degree angle right here. So remember, depending on how you make this, the way I'm going to make it, I'm going to put a flat platform on top of some of my uprights. So I need to make sure that the measurement that I'm taking initially factors in however thick your platform is. So mine's going to be roughly 1.75 inches. This is 1.5 inches. So I'm going to go below it just a hair. So I've just got one of my legs laying down here. I'm going to lay this down on the ground. My angle, if you can see this, my piece of scrap. So my 22.5 degree angle is sitting down just like this, right next to one of my other boards. So this board is nice and meshed, so it's going up at about the same angle. And then I'm going to come across about 1/4 inch down, so roughly right here. So my long is going to be roughly 29.25. Well, so once again, I'm not being precise. I'm not making marks. I'm just getting a kind of a rough estimate. It's going to be close. So 29.25 is what I'm going to cut the long to the top of where my board is. So I'm going to back up just a little bit. Let's just start out by cutting the bottom of the feet with the 22.5 degree, and then I will mark my 29.25. We'll come back and make that cut later. Okay, so I'm going to measure from my long. Once again, this angle here means nothing. This is just a piece of scrap. So when I say long, when you cut an angle, the heel is what I call the short, and the toe is what I call the long. So measure from the long. My measurement, your measurement might be different, but my measurement is 29.25, and I'm going to make a mark. Okay, then I'm going to go back in, and my cut down here is at an angle. This angle, I'm going to make it at the exact same. So it's going to go from my toe to heel on the same side, and from my heel to long on the other side. That way, I'm not sure if you can see this, but that way when you have your leg at that angle, you make it at the same cut, this top will be level. Now this is something that you don't have to do, but it will make fastening these together a little bit easier. I came back from my long, so this will be the top of my sawhorse leg. I came back from the long about 3/4 of an inch, and then I took a square, set my square down on my cut so it's flush here, and I made a 90-degree plumb mark, and I will move my saw to 90 degrees, and I will make a best attempt to make a plumb cut. Once again, this doesn't have to be perfect. Be safe. This is a dangerous way to make a cut. You don't have to do this, but it'll make it easier to fasten these together. So now I'm left with that. Okay, rinse and repeat. Another helpful tip that I got for you, whenever you're making a measurement, so I'm going from long to short, and I'm making a measurement at 29 1/4. I always make my mark, and then this is not a finished product or something like that. This is just framing. I will make a mark back at an angle like this. This is going to be square, so I'll make a mark back at an angle, and it's more of a reminder mark. That way when you get your board to the miter saw, it reminds you that this is the direction you need to make a cut. That way you don't mess up your cut. Okay, so now I got my 8 legs, all fairly similar, and the next thing I'm going to do is I've got some 1x material that that I pulled from that door stock frame, and I believe, let me measure it here real quick. It is 1.25 inch thickness, so it's a little bit thicker than 1x stock. So it is roughly 58 inches in length, so it's going to leave me about 29 inches. Cutting it in half. I'm going to rip off this step down edge here. So the profile I have is here. I'm going to rip this edge off, and it's just going to leave me with this. And this is going to be vertical plumb structure that I will fasten my legs to the side of each side of this. Little tip that I'm going to throw into this video: on my miter saw, other miter saws might be slightly different, but on mine, this is my stop. So when this comes down and touches this ledge here, which is kind of hard to see, go vertical here. So when this touches this, that brings my blade all the way down into my channel. My saw has a tendency to build up a lot of sawdust here, so if you are starting to notice that your blade is not cutting all the way down into your channel, make sure this area here is cleaned out, because that does on my saw a lot. So this piece here is a little bit thicker. It's 2 inches, so I'm gonna save it for something later. This one here is a decent piece. I need about 32 inches. My plum pieces that I cut were just shy of 29, so I want to overhang on each end a little bit. I can get 32 inches out of that if I wanted. This piece here, pretty rough shape, but I think what I'm going to try to do is I'm actually going to try to rip this in half. I'm going to try to get 32 inches in length out of it, and then I'm going to rip it in half, and that will be my top piece. Let's try to do that. One reason also that I chose to use a little bit thicker material, and it's kind of junk, is because if you, this is like a sacrificial piece. You can take this off and replace it later if you're, using a skill saw and you're cutting into it because you're cutting another board. This is just sacrificial. So this is about 29, and these are 32. So I took the difference in half and made me some marks, and basically this is going to be the top. These are going to be like this, and this is going to sit just like this, and then I'll put some screws down through this. The last thing I want to do is make these pieces. This is a 22.5 degree cut on each side. Doesn't have to be any specific length. If you want to put them down lower, you can. That's going to create more strength. You put them up higher, still be fairly strong, but it's going to make it a little bit weaker. So I just arbitrary length, cut 4 of these, 1 for each corner. What I would recommend doing though is turning this thing up on its side and making a measurement up on the each leg to where you want this. Get an approximate and make it the same. That way all 4 of them will be the same. So from my heel up here, it is about 18 7/8. So I'm going to make a mark. 18 7/8. Do that on all of them. So you don't have to do this part, but it'll strengthen up the sawhorses even more. This is that strip from that door frame piece that I was using. It's the strip that I ripped off. So basically I just turned the sawhorse over and split. I cut that strip, still had the full piece, so I cut it in half, so it should be exactly the same length as this piece that I used. Cut in half, flipped it over, fasten it to the bottom. It'll strengthen up the sawhorses. Well, we've got a set of sawhorses now, made completely out of scrap. These things are very solid. You put a lot of weight on them, and like I said, these are just sacrificial pieces on the top, so if you use them or they start falling apart over time, you can always replace them, but the legs are very sturdy. Appreciate you guys watching, and if you would, if you like the video, give me a thumbs up, make a comment, helps the channel. Try to come up with some more content. Hopefully I get a few more videos coming out pretty soon. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.